Hi, this is Ms. Harkness, and this video is for Eureka Module 5, Lesson 2 for 8th grade math. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at different representations of functions. I'm going to start us off in this video by just revisiting the definition of a function. A function is where each input has one output. So a relation is one way we will see our information presented today as a set of ordered pairs, whereas in a relation, there are inputs that are the x coordinates, and then the outputs are the y coordinates. Or on this right side, you can see that they have them in bold. So by definition, a function, each input has one and only one output. So let's just review really quickly. The table below represents the number of minutes Francisco spends at the gym each day for a week. Does the data show below represent the values of a function? Explain. So I need to look at my x values and make sure no x value shows up twice. Check. This is a function, and I'm going to type in my explanation. It is no x values repeat. All right, let's look at some more information today. Typically, we'll see this information presented in 4 ways, all right? In 4 ways. The first way we're going to talk about today is tables. So a table, obviously, is going to list out your x and y values, and you're going to have to do a little bit of investigating like I did on the sample problem above. Circle any data table below that is not a function. So again, I'm going to inspect the x values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a function. Let me inspect the x values in this next one. -6, -15, -9, -3, -2, -3, 8, 9. It's helpful for me to say it out loud because I hear myself say that number twice. This one is not a function, right? That's what the directions say. Circle any data. Let's look at the next one. -4, 0, oops, I thought it was on the highlighter. -4, 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. That one is a function. And then here's one more on my next page to look at. -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a function. 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. That's not a function in many ways. One can't turn into a -1 and turn into a +1. This one is also not a function. So with tables, you're just going to investigate the x values, look for duplicates. If there's a duplicate, not a function. Okay, moving on to graphs. Relation can also be modeled on a graph, and then we have to decide if it's a function or not. You've got 2 options here. But let's read what this says. It says each input has exactly one output. So like in looking at this point, right here, that's the ordered pairs 2, 8. Looking at this input, that's 3, 1. Looking at this input, that's 5, 3. And then looking at this last input, that is 6, 8. Each input 2, 3, 5, 6 is a standalone. Nothing has been duplicated. This is definitely a function. So on the graph, I can see that no x value is repeated, but I got ahead of myself. It says you could also make a list, which is what I did, to verify this is in fact a function. All right, so here for exercise 2, it says determine if the following graphs represent functions. I would like you to pause the video, look at each of these graphs, make your decision, yes or no, and then resume the video to see what I came up with. So go ahead and hit pause. If you said yes, no, yes, you were correct. Looking at this first graph, there are no duplicate x values, right? There's only one x value on the 1, only one x value on the 2. For 2 years, that tree was 5 feet tall. At 3 years, this particular tree was 3 feet tall. At 5 years, this particular tree was 7 feet tall, and at 7 years, this particular tree was 6 feet tall. Looks a little bit like a scatter plot there for your reference. This middle one is definitely a no, and I emphasized in pink those 2 points. That is a duplicate. If I were to list the ordered pairs, the 1 would show up twice, not a function. And then looking at this last curve, that is a yes. There are no x values that repeat. Now I want to point out what I did here on this middle one is known as the vertical line test. It says graph of a relation is a function if it passes the vertical line test. Meaning let me read this. The graph is a function since there are no vertical lines that hit the graph more than once. If I draw a vertical line up on this right one, it is only going to hit in one spot. That's a little off. Let me fix that. And so on. So you don't even have to write down the ordered pairs. You can just imagine a vertical line passing through it. If it only hits in one place, that's a yes. If it hits in 2 places, that's a no. So in a quick look, use a vertical line test to determine if these graphs represent functions. Check, check. These are both functions. In fact, they are linear functions, which we'll talk more about in lesson 3. What about these next 2? Yep, that's a function. Yep, that's a function. Even though it's a curve, that would be a non-linear function. And again, we'll talk more about that in lesson 3. Now, exercise 4 you can't necessarily do, so I'm going to just make one up. It says use a red pen to create an example of a relation that passes the vertical line test. Ooh, let me get a red pen ready. So a relation that passes the vertical line test, I'm just going to put a nice simple linear function. Then it says use a blue pen to create a relation that doesn't pass the vertical line test. That might be something like this. Cool. The third way we will see relations listed to determine if they're a function or not are through a mapping diagram, which look like these. I'm going to let you skim over that. You can always pause and read all the details if you want, but I'm going to come down here to exercise 5. It says analyze each relation and determine if it is a function or not a function. If you determine the relation is not a function, use a highlighter to show why. I'm going to put a yellow highlighter on. Let's see. Looking at the left side, do any x values duplicate, meaning they've got 2 stems coming off of them? No, they do not. That is a function. Let's come over here. Do any x values have 2 stems coming off of them? It does. This is not a function. Oops, I got ahead of myself. Looking over here, do any x values have 2 outputs? That one does. This is also not a function. And I can see that this is a function because obviously each input has only 1 output. The last way we will see a relation listed is in its relation format, where you're just looking at a whole set of ordered pairs, and it's my same process. I'm going to look at my x values to make sure no inputs, no x values, repeat with different outputs. So I'm going to zoom in here. You're going to see one like this on your homework, and it says which relation is not a function. So I'm going to have to look at each one. Look at my x values, the left side. None of those are the same. That's a function. We're looking for one that's not a function. We got 1, 4, -1, -8. Also a function. We've got 3, 0, -2, 3. There it is. But let's make sure for sure that D is not a function. -6, -4, -2, 0. That one is a function as well. Looking at number 2, looking at my x values, 5, 2, 4, 1, 9. function. Look at my x values. 7, 0, 4, 1, 7. There it is. Not to function. All right, pause the video, take a look at number 4, and then resume the video once you've decided. Now I've taken the liberty to draw in a little free-handed quadrant 1 because this is a function since each input does not duplicate with a different output. Like 3 didn't show up twice. What you may have noticed, or maybe not, all of the y values here are complete duplicates. Oops, sorry, I thought I was on the highlighter again. 2, it's 2 each time. But when I graph it, I can see that it is a function. This would pass the vertical line test. No matter where I put a vertical line through it, it is only going to intersect one time. Here's my final comment for you regarding functions. If you're looking at one that is formatted in a way you're not comfortable with, you can always change the format. So if you're given a relation, you can always graph it. If you're given a graph, you can always put it into a relation. These formats are interchangeable, and ultimately we will be comparing functions given in different formats when we begin standard 2. So one of them might be a graph and the other one would be an equation. So we want to make sure we're comfortable with all of these formats. That's all I have for you. Thanks for watching this video in its entirety. Good luck with the 5.2 homework.